Thank you for joining us. Our sign language interpreter at the bottom end of your screen is William Silla. Let's begin this bulletin, and we begin at the International Criminal Court. And the International Criminal Court has admitted the Waki reporters' evidence in the case against Deputy President William Ruto and journalist Joshua Sang. In agreeing to include the document, the trial chamber said it contained relevant information to the case, specifically mentioning its background. The Deputy President's teamers, however, told KTN that they're not so worried about this development. KTN's Edith Kimani has the details.
Deputy President William Ruto's defense team has been thrown a curveball after the International Criminal Court decided to admit the Waki report in the case. The report is a product of the Serena National Dialogue Agreement that gave a commission of inquiry 3 months to look into the post-election violence in 2008. Its admission simply means sections of the report will now be used as evidence in the ongoing trial at The Hague. And the big question is, why now? In respect of the defense's assertions, the court explains in part, the chamber finds that the document is relevant, particularly to the background of the case. The chamber also notes that the document has been supported by the testimony of Witness 13. Witness 13 appeared earlier in the Ruto Sang trial and is one of the few known witnesses. Gavin Alistair McFadden, a former member of the Waki Commission, testified largely on the work of the Commission. And it appears that this is what the court is interested in. Excerpts on which the prosecution intends to rely do not refer to the alleged acts or conduct of the accused. A statement by the court reads in part, only mentioning the methodology of the commission in the elaboration of the report as one of the things they are interested in. While Ruto's defense team is yet to comment on this new development, their position on the Waki report has been established. In July of last year, Ruto's lawyer Karim Khan argued vehemently against the inclusion of the report and its findings as evidence, saying at the time, because the Waki Commission had limited time to scrutinize witness statements, their report did not apparently meet the threshold of proof required in the case. Observers have been quick to cast doom for the Ruto case following this new development, and the Ruto defense team now has the added task of defending their client in spite of a report that is likely to adversely tilt the case against their client. Edith Kimani, KTN.
Alright, so the Teacher Service Commission is tonight moving to replace the teachers who have refused to go back to northeastern Kenya. The Commission has advertised positions for primary and post-primary teachers in a move they hope will stabilize learning in the region. Let's break that down for you, of course, and we're looking at that notice that was signed on the 4th of February and signed by Gabriel Ngobeni. He's the Chief Executive of the Teachers Service Commission, and the title was Replacement of Teachers Who Have Exited Service and Recruitment of Teachers for Northeastern Region. So, tonight, the TSC has advertised 1,350 positions to fill in northeastern Kenya. Remember, about 1,000 teachers refused to make their way back to northeastern Kenya. So this particular number that you're looking at, 1,350, is meant to replace the teachers who have refused to go back. So essentially means they will be posted to particular schools where teachers have not yet reported. So out of that 1,350, 896 are for primary school teachers and 454 are for post-primary teachers. So remember, this is meant to replace the teachers who have refused to go back, who are employed in northeastern Kenya and have refused to make their way back. That is 1,350. However, TSC has also moved to sort of help the students in northeastern Kenya by advertising an additional 1,089 teaching positions in northeastern region. This are now meant to sort of create an equal playing ground for the students in northeastern Kenya. This is very different from the initial number, because the initial number replaces the teachers who have refused to go back. This is now increasing the number of teachers in northeastern Kenya. Out of these, 637 posts are for primary schools and 452 posts are for post-primary teachers. And of course, TSC says it hopes this will stabilize learning in northeastern Kenya. So for Kenyans who are interested in this particular job, jobs, they can go to TSC website, which is www.tsc.go.ke, or they can get more information at TSC offices at counties and sub-counties. Let's see how this story pans out. Remember, teachers that refused to go back to northeastern Kenya, that deadline lapsed on the 2nd of February. TSC has now advertised for the positions of these teachers. We'll keep an eye on this story for you as it develops. Right now, let's look at a story as well that has been creating headlines in the country, that is the digital migration. And now to what some analysts see as a major setback to the government's digital migration timetable. Two of the major TV channels that moved to the digital platforms in December have now reverted to analog transmission. KBC and K24, along with Family TV, had switched off the analog transmitters in Nairobi in December following a government directive. KTN's Betty Kello now reports on the confusing signals of digital migration.
It was supposed to be the start of the government's controversial digital migration timetable.
Kenya shall implement analog switch-off in 3 phases as follows. Phase 1, to switch off on 31st December 2014, covering Nairobi and its environment.
And indeed, come 31st December, K24, KBC and Family TV all switched off their analog transmission in Nairobi and began broadcasting exclusively on the digital platforms. The 3 major broadcasters, KTN, Citizen and NTV, together with QTV, however, remained on analog transmission after they obtained a court order allowing them more time in a case that is still pending before the Supreme Court. But now the entire process has been thrown into further confusion. The 3 TV channels that had migrated, KBC, K24 and Family TV, are now back to analog transmission just 36 days after they migrated. The reason behind this reversal is unclear, but according to the Communications Authority, those who migrate are required to immediately surrender their analog frequencies. Signs that all was not well began earlier this week when the government's planned second phase of the switch-off failed to take off. On 2nd of February, KBC and K24, among other channels, were required to switch off analog transmission in major towns such as Nakuru and Mombasa, but somehow they did not. The development now means that the country is back to where it was before the 31st of December switch-off, with all major TV channels fully available on analog transmission. KTN, NTV, Citizen and QTV are sticking to set up their own digital infrastructure through which to continue offering free television to Kenyans. They are currently awaiting a ruling of the Supreme Court on whether or not they can continue broadcasting on analog till the end of April. That is because they obtained a license only in November last year. The 3 media houses also want additional frequencies since so far the 3 have been allocated only 21 against a minimum of 56 needed to adequately cover the country. The confusion in the digital migration process has left many Kenyans in the dark about the future of free-to-air television in the country. It is now unclear if the decision by KBC, K24 and Family TV to resume analog broadcasts was sanctioned by the Communications Authority of Kenya, but for now it appears the government will have to send a clearer signal on digital migration. Betty Kello, KTN.
The chair of the National Assembly's Committee on Security, Asman Kamama, today threw the spanner in the works as he weighed in on the sticky debate on police recruitment. Kamama suggested that minimum academic qualifications be lowered from the current Form 4 certificate to Standard 8 level for what he calls better service delivery. KTN's Coast reporter Francis Ontomwa reports.
Special Security Consultative Forum in Mombasa. The Parliamentary Committee on Security and the Ministry of Interior and Coordination of National Government were putting their heads together. But it was Tiati lawmaker Asman Kamama who was holding the real trigger.
Today is a forum that requires a lot of participation from us, and we need to be as candid as it can be.
And candid he was.
But quite a number of officers with grade C and above, quite a number of them are in school. So who is going to take care of this security? We would even recommend in future that recruitment should come to class 8 and above. Yeah, I'm telling you.
Kamama's assertions appear to have touched hard on a serious nerve in the police service. Police recruitment exercise across the country is one that has for ages courted all manner of controversies. Last year, the judiciary annulled the hiring of more than 10,000 recruits following claims of rampant graft cases, most of them touching on educational qualifications.
Lethargy within the police department. Most of these members come from the grassroots. For those of us who are from cat rustling prone areas, Waziri, there is a silent, tacit agreement, I think, between police themselves, that they are not prepared to chase and fight cat rustlers. That you can take it to the bank.
Today, the minimum requirement for recruits is a D+. The age limit has also been raised to between 18 and 28 years for KCSE holders, 30 for those with specialized skills. It has been widely acclaimed that improving educational levels for officers will be a huge boost to upping standards in service delivery. During the Mombasa meeting, others decided to engage different gears.
As your colleague, your immediate colleague, I expect this cooperation, because you are my majority of you, all of you are my friends.
The suggestion to lower educational qualifications for recruitment to the service is one that has been received with mixed feelings among Kenyans.
Standard 8 form 1 aende kwa polisi, kwa jeshi achukuliwe. Tutashukuru, watu wana njaa Kenya. Polisi unasikia ni superintendent, lakini kujiexpress unaona ni shida. Sasa wale wadogo zake ndio wanaona kama ukubwa ni huu, afadhali sisi tuone kama tukifika mahali pale itakuwa ni sawa sawa.
For a country still grappling with the challenge of sanitizing the sensitive docket, it appears Asman Kamama's remarks may have just opened a can of worms. Francis Ontomwa, KTN, Mombasa.
That story by Francis Ontoma forms the basis of a big question. Tonight we are asking you, do you support the proposal that Class 8 graduates be recruited into police service? Let us know what you think on that proposal. I'll sample some of your views during this bulletin. Right, a 16-year-old boy is nursing serious injuries at the Rift Valley Provincial General Hospital after his private parts were chopped off by people known to him. The boy is said to have been attacked right after he left a Chang'aa drinking den. Sharon Momanyi has the details.
The 16-year-old boy lies on this bed, pain and humiliation now engulfing his life. On Tuesday night, he claims his friends, one his age mate and the other senior to them, attacked him and chopped off his private parts. It is said that the elder friend makes busa and the victim is one of his clients. On the fateful day, however, he had just delivered a jerrycan of water to the friend after consuming the brew. This, they say, is the norm for those who cannot pay cash for the brew.
Nikazirai alafu ndio wakanikata kisu alafu wakanitupa barabara, nikatembea na magoti mpaka msitu alafu nikalala.
Neighbors who spotted him informed his family, who quickly rushed him to hospital.
His genitalia had been amputated and he was seen by medical officers who took the patient to theater same day yesterday for surgical toilet. It was done. The bleeders were arrested and patient was transferred with 2 units of blood. Right now he's stable in the ward.
The boy who dropped out of school at class 7 and works as a casual laborer says he wants action to be taken against the perpetrators, who he says have cast a dark cloud over his life.
He cannot function normally as a man because everything was removed.
Rongai OCPD Joseph Mwamburi says they have so far arrested 3 suspects who this morning were taken to court. He, however, says officers requested to have the suspects put in remand as they wait for a full report from the doctors handling the patient. Sharma Manyi, KTN.
You're watching KTN Prime. We thank you for staying with us. Let's focus just a little bit on politics, and in particular we're looking at senatorial by-election that will take place in Homa Bay on the 12th of this month. Ben Kitele has been pitching camp there. Ben, if you can hear me, how are the preparations so far?
And good evening, Linda. We are coming to you live from Homa Bay High School here in Homa Bay County. It is all systems go ahead of next week's by-election, the senatorial by-election here in Homa Bay. And the various candidates have been engaged in last-minute submissions to their potential voters, campaigning, trying to, persuade voters and sway them to their side. But before that, tomorrow we are preparing for a first of its kind here, a senatorial debate for all the 8 candidates who have been cleared by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. We have invited all of them. They will be coming here tomorrow. The debate is from 7:30 p.m. to around 9. I'm standing right outside the Tomboya Hall here in Homa Bay High School. This is the battleground. This is the boxing ring where the 8 of them will be seeking to floor each other, really, speaking quite not really literally. They will be seeking to floor each other in that by-election that is slated for next week. That is Thursday, the 12th of this month. Linda.
Ben, let's speculate just a little bit, because you have been there since yesterday. You have spoken to the residents. You probably have seen which side they're leaning on. Who are the main contenders from where you sit?
Well, Linda, 8 of them, as I have told you before, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IBC, has cleared 8 of them. I've just spoken to the returning officer here, that is Maurice Raira, but 4 of them are seemingly the front runners. That is Philip Okundi of Maendeleo Party of Kenya. There's ODM's Moses Kajwang. There is Hilary Alila, who is an independent candidate, and is Fred Abongo, who will be vying for this senatorial seat on another party here. And those are the 4 candidates who are seen as the front runners. There are 4 others who have not been as vocal as those 3, as those 4. Of course, Raila Odinga, the leader of ODM, has been pitching camp here from today. He has addressed some rallies here, and will address more tomorrow, trying to win back this senatorial seat. As you remember, it was occasioned by the death of the late Otieno Kajwang, who was an ODM senator. They are trying to gain that back, and of course there has been a lot of opposition from candidates who are earlier ODM candidates, but they did not get that nomination certificate, that ODM certificate, and they have been campaigning against the ODM candidate, that is Moses Kajwang here. And it is really a wait-and-see game here to see if Philip Okundi, who is seen as the main opposer of Moses Kajwang, will floor his man. And of course this also has been seen by some political analysts as going by the bigger picture, as a battle by the ODM leader Raila Odinga to see how strong his party, the Orange Party, is here in this part of Nyanza, which is his home turf, political home turf, so to speak. Linda.
Ben Kitele, live from Homa Bay, thank you very much. Remember, tomorrow from 7:30, he will have that debate with the contenders of the Homa Bay senatorial seat. Let's see how that goes. Of course, that by-election takes place on the 12th of February. Now, let's move on. And politicians have been asked to submit any information they may have in the ongoing investigations into the alleged Mara Conservancy funds misappropriation. The Senate Committee on Finance, which is investigating the Narok matter, is also warning politicians to desist from making public utterances on the matter or face disciplinary action from Parliament.
Senate Finance Committee is sounding a warning to all parliamentarians to desist from making public utterances and finger-pointing as it continues with the investigations into the Narok County leadership impasse. Chairman Bilo Kero says the committee may be forced to summon members of parliament who will disobey the directive.
Clear, you cannot prove your guilt or innocence in the media or through statements in the rallies or whatever. This can only be done on the basis of facts that are provided to this committee, and I think both parties have provided their evidences and their facts to this committee, and they should therefore allow the committee to conclude this matter and submit its report to the Senate.
the committee wants those fighting over revenue from Masai Mara Game Reserve to give it time to conclude its investigations.
How much revenue is being collected? How is it being collected? Is it being remitted to the county government?
Yesterday, several members of parliament opposed to Governor Samuel Tunai snubbed a meeting called by Deputy President William Ruto to discuss the problem. Ruto had planned a meeting with the leaders at his official residence in Karen to bring the warring sides together and reach a compromise.
We are not going to restrict anybody who is trying to find a solution between the communities in Narok. To try and bring leaders together. I think that aspect of conflict resolution is not what we are talking about, and that can be done by you, by the president, by any other party that can reconcile the leaders to avoid the confrontation and the ugly incidents that we've seen.
Governor Tunai's antagonists say he is unlawfully controlling the Mara Conservancy and want Kenya Airport's parking services that collects revenue in the Mara on behalf of the county be fully investigated. Aaron Ocheng, KTN.
Let's look at land matters. The chairman of the Commission for the Implementation of the Constitution, Charles Nyachai, wants Lands Cabinet Secretary Charity Ngilu and National Lands Commission Chairman Mohamed Swazuri sacked for allegedly failing to discharge their constitutional mandate to serve Kenyans. This comes a day after Ngilu disowned a report that sought to mediate and end wrangles between the ministry and the commission. Patrick Amimo has more.
In November last year, the presidency attempted to secure a settlement over jurisdiction dispute between the National Land Commission and Minister of Lands that had seen Ngilu and Swazuri constantly clash over their mandates. On Tuesday, lawyer Tom Ojenda deposited a progress report of the Joint Committee on Implementation of the Mediation Process. The report is not signed by Lands Cabinet Secretary Charity Ngilu, though the National Lands Commission Chairman Mohamed Swazuri appended his signature.
Their technical committee did look at what they wanted addressed. My technical committee, which we need to come together, we'll look at their side and our side, and this is ongoing.
The officers who are from our side and from their side were all people who are professionals in their task. So I think it is their briefing to the cabinet secretary on the side of the side, which has not happened.
Lawyer Paul Muite for the ministry and Tom Ojenda for the Lands Commission have differed over the report.
This is not a report of the ministry, it's not a consensus report, and the ministry took a very firm position that this document was irregularly taken to court. It does not have the signature of the cabinet secretary.
The team from the NLC have all signed, but there's agreement. You can see that if one or two members of the ministry have signed, that demonstrates that indeed this was not a one-sided mediation.
Speaking from Mombasa during a meeting between the National Assembly's Committee on Land and the Constitution Implementation Commission, Charles Nyachai urged Parliament to initiate a process to relieve Ngilu and Swazuri of their duties. Nyachai says the envisaged radical land reforms will suffer a stillbirth since Swazuri and Ngilu have failed to work together harmoniously.
If the consequence of inability to work together so as to deliver to the people of Kenya, if the consequence of that must be that people must step aside, then that must happen. That is.
We are just telling them the days are numbered. We are not going to wait to see Kenya go to the west anymore. We are tired.
A meeting held at Harambee House on 9th November 2014 agreed that a joint technical implementation committee of 6 comprising of equal membership be established to resolve the dispute over functions. A report submitted by Tom Ojenda to the Supreme Court has names of 11 members that form the joint committee. They are Augustine Masinde from the ministry as chairperson, Silas Kinoti from the commission as co-chairperson, Abdul Kadir Khalif from the commission, Emma Njogu from the commission, Masinja Mwea from the commission, Washington Abuto from the ministry, Peter Kahuho from the ministry, and Poli Gatimu from the ministry. Tom Abuta from the ministry, Brian Icol from the commission, and Elizabeth Njoroge from the ministry formed the secretariat. However, Ngilu says the ministry officials in the committee did not have her blessings.
The chair of the National Land Commission, for whatever reason, instead of coordinating with the cabinet secretary, ni kama alikuwa na murija, anaweka murija ndani ya ministry. of Lands anachukua wale watu anataka yeye mwenyewe bila kushauriana na cabinet secretary.
The team was appointed subsequent to the State House meeting between the chair of NLC and the minister.
The technical committee recommends that the Ministry of Lands should relinquish the function of assessing and collecting land tax to the National Land Commission effective from January this year. It was also agreed that the National Land Commission will process and execute grants and leases as per the applicable law.
The Commission under the Constitution has no role to play in issuing grants. The Commission has no role to play in the renewal of leases.
The mediation process appears to have collapsed, but both parties to the dispute are agreed that there is need to amend the Lands Act, the National Land Commission Act, and the Land Registration Act to align it to the Constitution. Patrick Amimo, KTN, Nairobi.
Thank you for staying with us. Let's cross borders now. More than 100 people are reported dead in the northern town of Cameroon after alleged Boko Haram insurgents unleashed a brutal attack in their homes and a mosque. Cameroon press has reported that most of those who were found dead had their throats slit, evidence of the group's brutality. While Cameroon officials have not commented on the issue, the country has been pushing the militant group from its borders. KTN's Edith Kimani has more from Cameroon.
The pictures from Boko Haram's latest massacre are too gruesome to show. Bodies lined side by side, most of them with their throats slit. Observers say this latest attack is evidence of the militant group's increased brutality. The insurgents reportedly broke into people's homes and a mosque in the Cameroonian northern town of Fotoko, leaving behind a trail of death and destroyed property. Just 3 days ago, the group, now thought to be the biggest security threat in Nigeria, killed 8 people in the northern Nigerian town of Maiduguri. Nigerian authorities have been in joint efforts with neighboring countries to fully expel the group. Last week, the African Union authorized a regional force of 7,500 troops to fight the militants who have reportedly led to the displacement of over 1 million people in Nigeria. The massacre in Cameroon is the latest in a series of intense attacks by the group, which has been fighting to create an Islamist emirate in Nigeria for nearly 6 years now. Nigeria, which is preparing to go for its general elections, has been seeking ways to quash the group, which has escalated its tactics from mass kidnappings to brutal killings. Edith Kimani, KTN.
Let's bring you back to the country. The Embu Governor Martin Wambora is once again under fire from a disgruntled group of county assembly members who accuse him of overspending. The governor has, however, dismissed his critics, saying the accusations stem from witch hunt within the county assembly offices. This and other stories in our news from the counties.
A section of members of the Embu County Assembly have invited the Auditor General to investigate misappropriation of funds in the Assembly totaling 30 million shillings. They claim the County Public Service Board has failed to remit their pay-as-you-earn tax to the Kenya Revenue Authority. The MCAs accuse Governor Wambora's administration of failing to pay the county staff. But Wambora has come out to defend himself, citing political witch hunt at the County Assembly offices.
We are here to expose what again we may call fraud.
As we speak yesterday, KRA were here the whole day yesterday, and this is something they do every now and then. If there were issues, the first person to react would be KRA. Somebody would be in police custody now for not remitting tax.
In July we are being blasted for not spending very little. Now we are being blasted for spending on development. I don't know, what is this now?
Elsewhere, the county government of Kiambu has launched a scheme that will see farmers in the area get funds to invest in green housing projects. The scheme is meant to develop alternative farming methods in the area, which has witnessed erratic rainfall. Speaking during the launch in Wangige town, Kiambu County Governor William Kabogo said the move will see farmers embrace greenhouse technology in place of traditional farming methods.
Ukiwa umetoka katika hiyo greenhouse, umesoma maneno ya kutengeza ama kukuza mimea na greenhouse, usisubiri greenhouse ile ya chama. Unaweza ingia katika mikopo ya kiserikali ambayo interest ni 5% peke yake.
And finally, the Kenya Forest Service has issued a high alert on forest fires within the country. The body says it has enhanced surveillance across the forest reserves as the dry season persists. The service says it has recalled their officers on leave to reinforce surveillance patrols in the game parks to protect the forest cover in the country.
We are calling upon all Kenyans to exercise restraint in the use of fire, particularly in the neighborhoods of forests, so that they don't start fires that would sometimes get out of control.
Timothy Otieno, KTN Prime.
Well, a very good evening and welcome to KTN Business. My name is Abi Agina. Expansion of the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport is well underway, with the second terminal set to be completed by the end of the month. The new terminal is set to ease congestion at the airport, serving both local and international flights. The airport currently handles 6.5 million passengers a year. The new terminal will come as a huge boost towards making JKIA a key aviation hub. Originally built to handle 2.5 million passengers, the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport has been stretched to the limit, to say the least. But the August 2013 fire might have just jolted the government and authorities into giving the airport a much-needed makeover. The second terminal, with a 2.5 million passenger capacity, will ease the pressure on Terminal 1, a game changer in the eyes of the airport's authority.
We will stop using the parking garage as an arrival terminal mid this year because we are currently constructing another arrival. In fact, we are constructing 2 arrivals. One should be ready by about May, another one will be ready by about July.
The second terminal will cost an estimated 1.7 billion shillings using prefabricated material that helped in its speedy construction. The facility will have a 10-year shelf life, with KAA keen to stress their solid plans to keep expanding and modernizing the airport.
The opening of this terminal means is that we have a breathing space to be able to put up the greenfield terminal. Also, the congestion that used to be experienced at JKIA will be no more.
Well, the launch of this terminal is expected to enhance Kenya's competitiveness within the region, even as the country continues to align itself to serve as the key transport hub for East Africa. The project is among key construction works being undertaken by the Airports Authority to boost capacity at JKIA.
This goes a long way to show that local contractors can actually partner with foreign contractors and deliver projects on time and a good project.
Last year, KAA commissioned Terminal 1A, a modern facility that was handed over to Kenya Airways and its SkyTeam partners. Plans are also underway to construct a second runway that will give much-needed capacity to JKIA to handle more flights. The new facility will have integrated security management software that will interlink all terminals at the airport. And even as demand for air travel keeps on the high, KAA says it remains keen on enhancing capacity to serve the growing regional and international demand. Other ongoing projects aimed at taking up capacity at the airport is the construction of the Greenfield Terminal, which is expected to raise JKIA's total capacity to about 20 million passengers annually. Well, in case you're wondering where that terminal is at JKIA, just after the presidential pavilion, it's located somewhere around there. Well, moving on, livestock farming in arid and semi-arid areas of Kenya has over the years been neglected and left to brokers and cattle, frustrating the sector's development. The potential of this sector can be best explained through a small market in North Baringo, where close to 5 million shillings changes hands every week. Our reporter Philip Kitani visited the market and brings us the following report.
When thinking of livestock farming in Kenya, one usually thinks of poultry, dairy, pigs, and most recently quails. Little is talked about when it comes to rearing goats, cows, and even camels as a lucrative business. However, when you move to the arid and semi-arid areas, cows and goats keeping is a lucrative business.
This is a chance for them actually to convert the animals actually into money.
Livestock keeping in arid and semi-arid has been a mainstay for residents for many years. Due to the limited rain, little else can survive in the area. But for the same number of years, investment into the sector has been lacking and has left many who depend on the animals for a living at a disadvantage.
Lakini pesa ile ambayo inapaki hapa kama sehemu hii ni wezi kosa zaidi ya 2 million kuendelea kila wiki.
Livestock farming in Kenya contribute 12% of the country's gross domestic product, but the majority of this input is generated from dairy farming, which is more organized, as livestock keeping in arid and semi-arid areas is in the hands of a few individuals and dealers who have over the years exploited these farmers who know little about the potential of the livestock sector.
Changamoto kama ukame na kucha, hii kazi na kuisha. Wanyama na konda, market na haribika, alafu hiyo itaenda zero, alafu wakati nanyesha naanza tena.
This market supports hundreds of pastoralists from this region, but cases of insecurity, climate change and poor infrastructure is putting a strain on its viability.
What we have found in the sector is that there has been no consistent effort to help the farmers to be organized into cooperatives so that they can compete like their highland counterparts who are doing very well.
About 67% of red meat is produced in the arid and semi-arid lands under pastoral production system. Kenya's main export markets for meat products include the United Arab Emirates, Tanzania and Uganda, while the main markets for hides and skins is Germany, United Kingdom, Netherlands and Italy. Majority of these farmers depend on livestock farming as a source of income, but cases of insecurity, climate change and poor infrastructure hampers their efforts of making a decent livelihood, and they are now calling upon the government and county government to improve insecurity and infrastructure for them to earn a living like any other Kenyan. Philip Ketan reporting for KTN from Ginyang, Baringo County.
Well, interesting report there by Philip. I was just wondering, if they're making 5 million shillings a week, that translates to about 1 million shillings per day. Let's now move on. The National Treasury has signed a 1.8 billion shillings grant with Trademark East Africa for the expansion of access roads in Mombasa County. The Port Raids and Moi International Airport access roads will be expanded into dual carriageways to ease movement in the coastal city. The Kenya National Highways Authority will inject a further 900 million shillings into the project to fund design and construction of the roads. The two roads, which cover 6.4 kilometers, are some of the most congested roads in Mombasa that have caused massive delays in the recent past. The Port Raids Road is mainly used by trucks accessing the port, linking them to the northern corridor, and has caused massive delays, especially for those going to and from the airport, as well as heading out of Mombasa. Just this week, the government also picked Deloitte as the lead transaction advisor for the construction of a second Nyali Bridge aimed at decongesting the city and easing movement of goods and people.
The project, when completed, will ease traffic congestion to and from the airport, and this will go a long way in enhancing trade in the country and the entire East African region. Further, the project will improve efficiency of the Mombasa port and unlock the region's economic potential.
I think we all agree that this road, the Port Raids Road, is a very important one if you look at the jigsaw of modernizations that are taking place in the Mombasa port and its environs to make trade easier, less costly, more streamlined and more efficient.
And moving on, the country's athletics governing body, Athletics Kenya, will this year focus more on curbing doping. The vice has threatened to wipe out the good reputation by Kenyan athletes that they have built over the years. Speaking during a stakeholders meeting in Nairobi, the federation also announced that it will direct some energy and resources to systems that would attract more spectators during local competitions. There's no doubt that athletics is the most successful sport in Kenya, going by the number of medals won by the country's men and women at the global stage. But the sport still does not attract the number of followers enjoyed by other sports in the country, such as football. Research conducted by Sinovit and Repucom shows that only 25% of Kenyans have attended an athletics event locally. The research that targeted over 2,000 respondents shows that 75% of the respondents have never been to an athletics event due to lack of information, among other factors.
That information, then we can go back to the drawing board, and as we are working on our strategic plan, we know the key areas that we need to focus on.
And probably the thing they can do better is the communication around when those events will be held and where they will be held.
Marathon and road running attracts the highest number of spectators at 55%, followed by cross-country running at 52%, while track and field events is at 42%. 800 meters Olympic champions David Rudisha and Pamela Jelimo were the respondents' favorites. The research that was conducted between the 6th and 14th of November last year rated Athletics Kenya as the most known federation in the country, slightly ahead of Football Kenya Federation and Kenya Rugby Union. The research, however, did not tackle anything on doping, despite a considerable rise in the vice, as the call for Athletics Kenya to tighten its fight on the vice deepens.
And the competition rules now are very strict when it comes to doping, and any and every competition that is going to be licensed by Athletics Kenya, we are saying that they must do doping. Then the other thing is education.
To date, the federation has suspended 35 doping offenders, although no accomplices like doctors, coaches or managers have been nabbed.
We are getting a lot of important information, and that information is what we are using then to follow up and ensure the scourge, or rather the practice, is not spreading far and wide.
The federation laughed off calls from a section of retired athletes to current athletes to boycott the national cross-country trials on the 14th of this month. And to some other news now, competition during the 2015 KCB Kenya National Rally Championships is expected to go a notch higher, with many drivers acquiring new and more powerful cars. An RF machine is among the new cars expected to up the competition drive starting on the 21st of this month in Kisumu. The Malindi Class S defending champion Hussein Malik is preparing for a nail-biting season.
Sixth rally team of Hussein Malik and his navigator then, Steve Njenga, started the 2014 season by winning the season opener in Malindi in their Mitsubishi Evo 6. They went on to finish third overall in their class. And with 2 weeks to start off the 2015 edition of KCB Kenya National Rally Championship season, Malik is aware of the level of competition this year, but is geared up.
We're hoping for a good season. We're hoping that this year will be our year. We've given it a try, and let's see. This year, everything is in place, and we want to give it our best shot.
Kisumu will set off the season rolling on 21st of February. The arrival of a Ford Fiesta R5, a machine owned by Manvir Baryan, has just upped the levels of rallying. Sources in rallying cycle intimate that Nakuru-based Rajbir Rai, the Kisumu Rally defending champion, will also be driving an R5. R5 drivers are expected to square it out with Mitsubishi Lancer Evolutions and 3 fancied S2000s owned by Alestel Canova, Carflash Tundo and Quintin Michel. And that's another spice to the Kenya Rally Championship.
It's healthy for the competition. We welcome it. We're glad that these kind of cars are coming into Kenya right now. And we look forward to the competition. Even as a competitor, I'd like to see how those cars perform.
Uganda National Rally champion Ronald Sebuguzi will be among the star attraction in Kisumu, together with other countrymen Jas Mangat and Duncan Mubiru. Ronald Sebuguzi will race in a Mitsubishi Evolution X, formerly owned by Jasprit Church. Most of the stages in 2015 will be on private farms, something that will be key in ensuring more safety to drivers and also the spectators. Moses Wahisi, KTN Sports.
So do you support the proposal that Class 8 graduates be recruited into the police service? That was our big question on KTN Prime tonight. We'll get the poll results on your screen in just a few minutes. Let me see if I can sample some of your thoughts. And Gadara says, the National Police Service is set up to contain the public. The elite don't want cops thinking for themselves. Regaholic says, Kamama has just insulted and belittled the police force by that remark. Boniface Monyenye says, yes, I support Kamama. Graduates don't have time for providing security. At Lisbon says, that is like saying policemen should be illiterate. We need intellectuals in the force. Compare with FBI and CIA. Salome Lugard says, that would be child slavery and abuse. At Akemba Abraham says, yes, let's give hope for our graduates, because even in Israel, you become military immediately you get to 18. And then Duncan Wanga says, they say it's because fourth formers keep furthering their studies. They should go to class to improve, not to get jobs. And finally, at Patrick Alushula says, no, is Kamama insinuating that being educated hinders police officers from performance? Those are your opinions on our big question tonight. We thank you for participating, indeed for watching KTN Prime. I will leave you in the able hands of Betty Kialo tomorrow, Friday briefing. Have a good night. I'm Linda Ogutu.